kids, it's the Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Now on this video I'm going to do a direct comparison between this, the Triumph Explorer, and a bike I'm very familiar with, the BMW GS, which is perhaps its biggest competitor. So stick around, stay tuned, we'll do a direct comparison and I'll tell you what I think is best. So full disclosure to begin with, as I say, I own a BMW GS, so I may be a little bit biased towards that because of course I've spent my hard-earned cash on that bike. Having said that, I'm a Triumph fanboy. I also own a Triumph Street Triple and I've had other Triumphs in the past. So I'm hoping that'll kind of cancel out my bias slightly, but just want to let you know that before we start the review. So weight on the big Triumph Explorer, how's that? Well, it weighs in at 245 kilograms dry, which is about 15 kilograms heavier than the GS. However, it's got a bigger, more powerful engine, so one kind of counteracts the other perhaps. So in terms of performance, the weight's not an issue. I think the bigger engine and the more power counteracts that. They feel fairly similar in the sort of poke department. But in terms of handling, there's no doubt the Triumph Explorer feels like a much larger bike in that it feels a lot more planted, which is nice for touring, but not so good for kind of flickability, if you like. The BMW feels a lot more flickable. The Triumph at standstill does feel very, very weighty. Well, I've already mentioned that the BMW is less weight than the Triumph, and you really do feel it on the go as well, particularly at slow speeds. The BMW never feels like you want to drop it, or certainly it doesn't to me. I'm very used to it now, of course. I can get my feet on the ground nice and firmly, and the thing just feels a lot lighter than the Triumph Explorer, so ticking the box for the Beemer on weight. Well, the engine on the Triumph Explorer is the big old 1217cc triple unit, and Triumph of course are masters at the triple engine. It's turbine smooth, really, really nice. Sounds a bit odd, sounds a bit like a car, and also the problem with it of course is it being a triple, it's the weight is held a little higher up than it is on the GS, so it makes the bike feel a lot more top heavy, although I understand Triumph have done quite a bit of work on trying to cure that over the original version of the Explorer, and these later ones aren't quite so top heavy. I assume they've done that by canting the engine forward, but I don't know. But anyway, from a engine point of view, lovely, smooth, turbine power, triple unit. Sounds a bit odd, but a lovely engine nonetheless. The BMW engine, of course, is the twin pot boxer design, so it's horizontally opposed engine. But that means that the pistons, although they're pointing out the side and look a bit strange, it does mean they're very low down, and that makes the balance of the bike lovely. So the engine itself is obviously a bit more lumpy than the Triumph, which has got that lovely smooth turbine triple, but certainly as big twins go, you couldn't say that the BMW is lumpy. It's got lots of low down torque. It's not as powerful as the Explorer, comes in at 125 brake horsepower, but because of it's a lighter bike, they feel very similar in the power stakes. Comfort on the Triumph is great. It feels very, very similar to the GS actually. Very wide handlebars in the same way. Got lots of fairing and protection. They've put lots of winglets and things on here to try and make sure the wind doesn't buffet you. And with this standard screen, I'm not being buffeted at all. I have got a bit of rain on my face, but that's not a big deal. I'm not in the wind buffet, which is the main thing. So from a protection point of view, the Triumph does pretty well. Comfort on the GS is excellent, there's no doubt. The seat is a little bit softer than the Triumph Explorer. You feel a bit more in the bike than on the bike with the BMW, which I quite like. And the suspension is really plush again, very similar to the Triumph. Nice and soft. I guess from a riding position, you'd feel a little bit lower down. You feel, like I say, very much on top of the bike on the Triumph, and therefore you feel a little bit taller up. Your legs are a little bit more bent on the GS. I personally like that. It feels a slightly more sporty position, believe it or not, than on the Triumph. But yeah, they both score very highly on the comfort front. On the weather protection front, both bikes are very good actually, because they've got these massive frontal areas. You are cocooned in a fairly still place in terms of air turbulence. This bike I've got fitted a non-standard screen. This is the MRA Vario screen, and hence I get no turbulence on my head at all, whereas on the Triumph I did get a bit of turbulence. So from a wind protection point of view, I'd say the BMW just comes out, just nudges it better on that score, but it really is a close thing. Both bikes are great at weather protection. But the Triumph handles really nicely. She's nice and stable, brilliant as a touring machine. Not sure it would be great off-road at all, and I don't think Triumph make any great pretensions about the off-road ability of the bike, although of course superficially it looks like a big off-road trailie type bike. Wouldn't want to take it off-road because it is weighty and it's not particularly flickable. But handling as a road bike, absolutely lovely, as stable as you like, really nice. When it comes to handling, the BMW definitely has the edge on the Explorer. It's a much more flickable bike because of its low centre of gravity, and also it's slightly less weight. The bike just feels a lot more agile. It feels a bit more like I should say, the Tiger 800 than it does the big 1200 Explorer, which is a lovely little bike. So the BMW definitely wins the contest on handling. On a value for money point of view, you can't really fault the Triumph. There are lots of extras that you can spec up, just like there are for the BMW, but a lot of those extras, depending on the flavour of bike you go for with the Triumph, come with that model, if you see what I mean. So value for money wise, it's a lot cheaper than the BMW. I'll put the prices up on the screen so you can compare. It's difficult to compare like with like because of the different model variants that are available. On the value for money front, well, the Triumph is top value for money. The fully spec'd machine comes in at something like, I think, £15,800, whereas this bike, when I added up the spec of this, it came in over £18,000, so sort of £3 difference for similarly spec'd bike. So you sort of take your choice there. I have to say, the BMW does feel like more of a quality machine. Not saying the Triumph is low quality by any means, but just, I don't know, the fit and finish of the bike, the way it feels, the BMW just feels the nicer bike in the quality and respect. So you've got to factor that in when you're looking at value for money. But certainly I think from a value for money point of view, the Triumph probably has it over the BMW. On the looks front, the BMW, well, it's not really a beautiful looking machine. I'm sure some people love it. It's one of those bikes that I've kind of learnt to love the looks of. I don't dislike it at all. And given the Triumph is sort of a copy, I think Triumph have done a really good job. I think the Triumph is the more handsome bike. So tick in the box for, as far as I'm concerned, to Triumph there on the looks front. So as I said at the start of the video, you could say I'm biased because of course the BMW is the bike that I've shelled out my hard-earned cash on, but I am also a Triumph fanboy, so I'm hoping those two things kind of counteract each other and that my summary can be fairly unbiased. If I was spending my money again, I would go for the BMW. And the reason why I'd go for the BMW over the Triumph primarily is due to that weight and handling flickability thing. The BMW just feels like a much smaller bike, even though it's not that much smaller. It certainly feels it. I don't feel intimidated by the weight of this. The Triumph, I felt as if feasibly I could drop the machine. If I was to go with a pillion, I think that just the weight would be overwhelming. The Triumph, I think, would make a great motorway cruiser, but you want to take the thing off-road. Of course, it does come down to money, and the BMW is significantly more expensive, so obviously it depends how much money you've got to spend on these things. The BMW is overall the better built machine. It's just got better quality kit on it. I think it just feels like a more quality machine, and that for me counts like quite a lot, as does things like the integrated sat nav that you can't get on the Triumph. That for me is a bit of a deal breaker, sad though that seems. So there we have it, folks. That's my direct comparison of the Tiger 1200 Explorer versus the BMW 1200GS. Hope that was of interest. I look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio.